welcome to Physical Therapy, a movie podcast inspired by the world of physical media and beyond. My name is Kurt.
My name is Sam.
On today's episode, we are talking Arrow Video's new 4K release of 1989's Roadhouse, starring Patrick Swayze.
As well as...
Are we going to go there?
Yeah, we have to. As well as the new 4K from Arrow Video of 2001's Swordfish, starring Don Cheadle, Hugh Jackman, John Travolta, and Miss Halle Berry.
Originally, this was going to be a Swordfish episode, and then Sam and I watched Swordfish again and decided it's not good enough to be a whole episode's worth of content, but we will be touching on it in a little while.
Yeah. Both of these releases are new to the Arrow line. Both are last month releases?
I think so. Stay tuned. At the very end of the episode, in honor of Roadhouse, Sam and I will be fighting on mic. Fist fighting.
It's going to be wild.
It is. But first, Sam, let's talk about some announcements since last we spoke.
Marty, real quick though.
Yeah, what do you got?
The internet has been abuzz with people demanding that we just release the Deep Blue Sea cut.
I'm happy to hear that.
I just don't know if we can yet, guys.
We don't want to lose you. Whoever's out there, we really don't want to lose you, and we're afraid we might.
But keep up the petitions.
Yes, that is good to know. Sam, are you familiar with a 1995 film called 4 Rooms?
I am familiar with it, but I've never seen it.
This is a anthology film directed by Allison Anders, Alexander Rockwell, Robert Rodriguez, and Quentin Tarantino, starring Tim Roth as a bellhop in a hotel. And he's sort of the only, from my memory, through line for 4 stories that happen in this hotel, all directed by those filmmakers. There's a lot of great supporting actors in this, including Antonio Banderas, Bruce Willis, Lily Taylor, Marissa Tomei, and Madonna, for example. This was never released on Blu-ray, as far as I know, at least in the United States.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And is coming out from Kino Lorber on 4K sometime soon this year. It was just announced. I remember being obsessed with The Last Chapter as a kid, which is directed by Tarantino.
Okay.
I think overall my memory is this movie's just fine, but there's some fun stuff in his chapter.
Cool. Yeah, I think I'll probably end up picking it up, at least during a sale or something. Now that Kino has joined the ranks of a boutique label getting a 50% off sale at Barnes & Noble, it is pretty cool.
How often is that happening? Do we know?
I don't think we know. I think this year was the first time they've done it, and it lasted for a couple of weeks. It seems to be following suit with the Arrow and the Criterion sales that they have.
Another movie that never came out on Blu-ray that is apparently getting a 4K this year is Kevin Smith's Dogma.
This was going to be the one that I highlighted too. This is like a pretty big deal, honestly.
I just remember this is like a kind of send-up of Catholicism with Ben Affleck and Matt Damon playing angels. Is that right?
I think one of them's Gabriel.
Okay. Tilda Swinton from Constantine.
Damn, dude. Constantine. Why are we doing Constantine again?
But I'm excited to revisit Dogma.
Me too.
I'm sure most of it went over my head the last time I saw it.
Well, it's kind of been sitting in rights hell because it was a early Weinstein Company movie. And I guess Harvey didn't want to give up the rights to it and then just recently sold him off because of him being a giant pile of fucking garbage.
That may explain 4 Rooms.
Oh, you think so?
I mean, it's early Miramax.
Yeah.
Sam, another 4K announcement is George Romero's Night of the Living Dead.
No. This is the Night of the Living Dead remake, which is written by George Romero, but directed by Tom Savini.
Correct. Okay, cool. Coming out in October. Oh, I see the top comment is from you on Dawn of the Discs. It says, who's putting this out?
I don't think anybody has been confirmed yet, but apparently this is going to be the Tom Savini preferred director's cut, and a lot of people are very excited about that. I happen to think this movie is awesome.
Someone replied saying that it's Sony and it's probably a 4K steelbook. Are you going to be all right?
Dude, I got my Kingdom of Heaven steelbook, the director's cut.
Yes.
And here's the thing that I hate about steelbooks is that I knew what that package was, and I was anxious to open it because they get damaged so goddamn easy. And I was like, am I going to open this up and it's just going to be like flattened and a complete pile of garbage? It happened to be okay, but it is not a good feeling.
Some Criterion announcements. A 4K of A History of Violence is coming.
Cannot wait.
Cronenberg's, it's a comic adaptation, right? Or a graphic novel?
Yeah, it's a graphic novel.
Starring Viggo Mortensen, Ed Harris, William Hurt, Maria Bello. Is this movie good?
I don't know. Somebody recently told me that Eastern Promises sucks, which is the movie he did right after History of Violence.
That person is wrong.
That person, I think, is very much wrong. And I think this movie has its fans and its people who wanted like a more Cronenbergian experience. It is a departure of the types of movies that he makes.
Yeah. My memory is that History of Violence is not as good as Eastern Promises, but I am excited to see it again.
Funny. My memory is the opposite.
When's the last time you've seen Eastern Promises?
I have the Kino Lorber 4K sitting in the other room, but it has been a while.
Okay. I've seen it recently, but I have the 4K sitting in the other room, waiting to be watched.
I was doing a really good job of, after seeing The Shrouds, just going through a lot of his movies that I was sitting on that I either hadn't seen or just hadn't watched, shame pile. And then I kind of fell off that. So I have my 3 remaining are Eastern Promises, Existenz, and Naked Lunch. I've never seen Naked Lunch, but I've seen the other 2.
That Existenz 4K is so good.
Yeah.
Criterion's doing Flow, which I sadly never saw in the theater.
It's good.
Kim, I think, was a little nervous to see it for the animal peril, perhaps.
Yes.
So we didn't make it, and I didn't go without her. But I am going to get that when it comes out because I hear it's great. And then a big one from Criterion is This Is Spinal Tap is coming out on 4K. Rob Reiner's mockumentary, classic mockumentary, which was an early DVD, I think, of Criterion's, or Laserdisc even, maybe?
I think it was on Laserdisc. I definitely remember seeing the DVD cover all over the place. I think the 4K cover that they commissioned is incredible.
It's a little modern for me or something, like the way their faces look on it.
It's like a parody of that Queen album, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Did we talk about Miss 45?
I thought we did on last episode, but if we didn't, Arrow announced that they will be putting out Abel Ferrara's insane revenge story, Miss 45. A favorite of yours.
Meet the Parents is coming out on 4K. I'm going to buy that, Sam.
Great.
What else?
My big one, just because it was such a huge announcement, was Dogma.
Yeah.
I listened to an entire podcast with Kevin Smith, just him talking about how it came to be and what they've had to do. So that I think that's going to be like a huge release, honestly.
I don't think I really have anything to confess, Sam. I've been trying to really do a better job of watching movies more often than buying them. I've been hitting up my collection, old and new, a little bit more lately, and I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, I have, we're 22 days into June as of recording this episode. I have been following my no buy June rule very well.
Congratulations, Sam.
It's been a strange, weird journey. But as you just said, I mean, I've been watching stuff at home, which has felt good, of just kind of like clearing out some of the backlog. There have been a couple announcements that I'm excited for that I'll either wait to pre-order or just pick up during a sale. But yeah, I've been following my own rules for like once in my life.
Have you watched anything in your collection lately?
I have not seen 28 Years Later yet. So I watched 28 Days Later, the Blu-ray.
Collector's item.
Yeah. Which I was kind of cursing myself for upgrading just because the movie looks a little old and washed out at this point. But it was shot with, over-the-counter digital cameras, and they definitely did it on purpose. But I was cursing myself for being like, did I really need to upgrade this from a DVD? And then I remembered I bought it for $5 from a Target. So,
damn,
who cares? I've watched that. I started the Kino Lorber 4K of No Way Out. Kevin Costner, Gene Hackman, Sean Young.
Rocks.
I was about an hour in. I was getting too tired, but it was awesome.
Dude, let me know. Check back in.
Yeah, I was way on board with that movie. Second Sight announced that they were going to be putting out The Innkeepers, an earlier Ty West movie.
And what else? Something else, right? Oh, Pusher.
Yeah, the Pusher trilogy.
Yeah.
So I pulled The Innkeepers off of my shelf to rewatch before upgrading it. But this is a contentious movie between the two of us.
I don't remember liking it very much. And I was such a big fan of House of the Devil. Mm-hmm. And I saw it kind of in that window. It's his movie right after that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember it all that well, but I didn't find it very good.
Maybe I'll send you my Blu-ray copy if I upgrade.
I'd revisit.
Yeah.
I wish someone would put out, what's the one where it's like the Jonestown riff, the found footage one? The Sacrament?
The Sacrament. Second Sight put it out.
On Blu-ray?
Yeah, or maybe even a 4K, but I have a big box of it.
Shit. Okay. I like that one.
Yeah, that one's really good. That one's fucked up, man.
I've revisited some great stuff. I rewatched Goodfellas on Blu-ray after finishing finally The Sopranos.
Oh, hell yeah.
Which was such a fun rewatch in general. And
so many of the same actors. So many people pop up.
Yeah, it's a real treat after Sopranos. That's a 4K that's supposed to not be good.
Interesting.
It is on 4K. It's one of my favorite movies, but I have never upgraded it because the transfer is just not supposed to be great.
It'd be nice if we got like a cool boutique release of it.
Yeah, I wish Criterion would upgrade that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish Criterion would upgrade Heat. I was watching Thief. I watched Thief last night, the 4K of Thief, which is so great.
From Criterion.
Yeah.
And then Arrow is putting Thief out later this year in the UK.
Right.
But on 4K.
Right.
Okay.
But I was rewatching the 4K of Heat a few weeks back, and it's fine. It's kind of muddy and dim, to be honest. And I wonder, I don't really know how involved Michael Mann was with that transfer, probably, but it's one of those where I was just thinking, man, if Criterion would do this, I'm sure it would look better.
I know a movie that you sent me a screenshot from. I'm not sure if you finished it or not.
Yeah, I followed up Thief with Michael Mann's Public Enemies on Blu-ray. I am about halfway done. I'll be finishing that later today.
You can finish it by taking the disc out and throwing it into the fucking garbage.
So far, pretty good. I'm a defender, I think. Let's see how I feel after I finish it this time.
Yeah. This was a big movie because it was being shot in Chicago when Kurt and I were both in film school in Chicago.
Dude, incredible time. So Sam and I lived in Chicago from...
literally right where they were shooting that movie.
Yeah. We lived there from 2006 to 2010. And within the first 2 years of living there, we watched them film The Dark Knight and Public Enemies. Like they were just happening down the street.
It was wild.
And, you know, what a time. Christian Bale, baby. Oof.
Truly, Marion Cotillard's apartment in Public Enemies was about a block and a half, 2 blocks from my apartment, which would have been about 4 blocks from Kurt's apartment at that time. It's really wild to watch that movie. And it's mainly wild because that movie fucking blows. But...
Sam, should we talk about Swordfish before we get into our main feature?
Yeah, I got about, what do you got? Like 3.5 minutes on Swordfish?
So my dad took me to see Swordfish.
I went with my older brother.
In, what is it, 2001? Yeah, so I'm 13. And dude, at the time, it was like an R-rated movie, nudity, violence, cutting edge special effects. It was like that zone. It was right after The Matrix. And it felt very like in reaction to The Matrix, the way it looks. Even the title cards that come up at the beginning, the studio logos are sort of, they have that kind of digital artifacting. Something is being infiltrated. Like there's another layer going on here digitally somehow. Someone's watching.
Well, and it isn't as like green as The Matrix is, but there is a lot of weird color correction in this movie to make it kind of look more blown out and washed out. And there's a lot of green hues to it.
Everyone in this movie is blonde somehow. Like everybody has blonde frosted highlights. John Travolta's facial hair is awful. It's next level. It is simply a little strip of hair that goes down from his lip along his chin. This is a movie about a hacker played by Hugh Jackman. This is pre-X-Men?
This is right after the first X-Men movie.
Oh, okay. He's a hacker who has done time and now he's on probation, basically. Forced to be hired by John Travolta, who is who? Who was he doing? He's a terrorist?
No, that's the thing, is that like, well, a spoiler alert for 2001 Swordfish. He is like the leader of like a covert counterterrorism unit that like needs this money so he can keep funding his covert operations. So he brings in Hugh Jackman's character, who's like an unstoppable hacker, to steal all this money from these Swiss bank accounts and give it to John Travolta.
So he can fight terrorism.
We think, but he's also like kidnapped. I mean, he like straight up goes to rob a bank and like kidnaps 35 people.
Yeah. This movie opens with a bank robbery. There's a scene where a hostage is escaping from the bank and she's wearing a proximity detonating bomb. So if she gets too far away from the bank, she'll explode. And that bomb is designed in a way where it has like hundreds of ball bearings that will explode around her like shrapnel. she gets too far away from the bank, she explodes, and they do like a bullet time rig. But, speaking of the Matrix, which is like a horseshoe of, I forget how many, but so many cameras, smaller digital cameras at the time. She explodes, but the cameras are like wrapping around her. They're cutting between all these different cameras every couple frames or whatever.
But they're like still images.
Yeah, basically. But and then they string them together, and every time, there's a cut, it switches to a new camera. So it wraps you around something happening in slow motion. And at the time, in 2001, 13-year-old me, my brain melted at this effect.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, it's the reason I'm always like, Swordfish rocks.
Yeah.
And then seeing it on 4K.
Yeah, I can tell you that 37-year-old me was like, this looks like fucking garbage, and this is so stupid. The thing with the movie is that it's like not interesting. None of the acting is good. The story is so convoluted. It seems pretty dumb. And then there's no good action scenes.
There's a sequence at the end where a giant helicopter picks up a bus and carries it through LA. And a lot of it's real.
That shit was awesome.
That shit rocked.
But like, there's a scene in which John Travolta like is in a car and then Hugh Jackman's got to drive it, and John Travolta like has 2 machine guns and he sticks them out of the windows and like starts shooting other cars in like Christ pose. And it is real bad.
It's really bad.
It's so bad, dude. There's a lot of, like Kurt said, the helicopter stuff at the end is really awesome. The practical stuff looks great, but then they kind of cut in between practical and CGI, and the CGI stuff looks really bad.
At the beginning of this year, when Arrow announced this 4K, it was like top of the mountain for me for the year. I was so excited that this was coming out in 4K, and now I'm just a man who owns Swordfish on 4K.
I will be selling my copy of Swordfish immediately.
I'm going to keep mine because I know myself, and I know that time will heal all wounds, and I will one day wake up and go, man, what's up with Swordfish? But respect to Arrow nonetheless for dropping it. Keep them coming. Keep these questionably good early 2000s, 90s action movies.
I would have gladly bought a 4K copy of Basic over Swordfish.
Dude, Basic.
They're kind of the same movie in a weird way that isn't true, but they're kind of the same.
All right, Sam. Roadhouse is one of your favorite movies.
I adore this movie. I didn't see this movie till later in life. And when I saw it for the first time, I remember finally thinking I understood the Patrick Swayze star.
You saw it when for the first time?
10, 12 years ago.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I think I always had a little bit of an affiliation with him from Ghost, growing up with Ghost, but I didn't really see the 80s action stuff until my 20s and beyond.
I remember seeing this movie for the first time living in Portland and immediately hitting you and all of our other friends up in LA and just being like, how did none of us ever bring this movie up or watch it or anything else? And I think I immediately sent you a Blu-ray copy of it.
I think so. This will mark my 3rd copy of Roadhouse, this Arrow version. I had that Blu-ray from you. Actually, I think it's my 4th, Sam. I think I bought a used copy of this at Rockaway Records in LA. And then you sent me the Shout Factory maybe version of it, right? Mm-hmm. I replaced that copy with the 4K from Vinegar Syndrome, but just like the standard edition by the time I came around to it. That was all that was available. And now I'm replacing that with this limited edition Arrow.
Dude, I bought this movie for myself, just a MGM studio release, probably for $5. I also bought that same copy for you. So that's 2. Then I replaced my copy with this Shout Select version. Then I replaced that copy with the Vinegar Syndrome one. During this time, I also bought a copy of Roadhouse and sent it to my mom's house. So there would be a copy there when I was home. So that's 5. And then I just bought the Arrow video version of it again. So now I've bought that movie 6 times at least, which is insane. And you know what? If another company announces it, I'll do it the fuck again.
What's this movie about, Sam?
Patrick Swayze plays a character named Dalton, who is the best or second best cooler in the business.
What's a cooler?
It is a made-up thing in this world, which is a like head bouncer. So he creates kind of all the rules and the way that the bar is going to flow. He trains his bouncers to act like him, and they clean up dingy roadside bars. And by clean up, I mean they just like make them a place where people want to hang out.
And not get assaulted or punched or hit with a flying bottle.
There's a line in this movie. The Double Deuce is the name of the bar, and the bar owner is hiring Patrick Swayze, and he said, "It used to be a real nice joint. Now it's a place where they sweep up the eyeballs after close." So, yeah, Patrick Swayze drives to a small town in we don't know where.
Yeah, somewhere near like Bakersfield, it seems.
And cleans up this bar.
He's hired by a character named Frank, played by Kevin Teague, whose face you'll know, to come clean up his bar. And when he gets there, Swayze walks in, and immediately it's this great scene where like the camera is sort of showing you everything wrong with this place. And we're seeing fighting, we're seeing drugs being sold, bottles flying through the air. We're seeing the band in this place
is surrounded by like a chicken wire.
Yeah, it's a cage
cell.
Because there's just bottles being thrown at the band constantly. So they're behind this shield.
The band is also the Jeff Healey band, and Jeff Healey is a blind like blues guitarist. And there's a scene in which they're like, "We'll be back in 10 minutes. We're gonna go like take a break and take a pee." And a fucking drunk guy throws a bottle at the cage and goes, "If you're paid to play, play." And I think either right before or after that, a drunk guy walks up to a gal and he goes, "Hey, vodka rocks. What say you and I get nipple to nipple?"
So he's got his work cut out for him.
Yeah. That's the type of bar I'm trying to hang out in all the time. The amount of sheer insane violence that happens at this bar, you would think the cops would be called every second. And we don't see a police officer until the last 2 shots of the movie.
Yeah. So Swayze is there in this town to stay for some time. He takes a room in the top floor of a barn owned by a very nice man named Emmett. And across a river from this barn, right across the river, lives a man named Brad Wesley, played by the great Ben Gazzara,
who's having the time of his life in this movie.
He's rich as hell, flying around this little town in helicopters, having rager parties, essentially extorting money from everyone who lives there.
Yeah.
So this whole town, they say, is getting poorer while he gets richer.
Hell, the J.C. Penney is coming here because of me.
One of these people that we see Ben Gazzara stealing from, essentially, is a guy named Red West, who owns
an auto parts store.
Auto parts store, exactly. Right next to the Double Deuce, basically. So we get a sense of kind of how evil this guy is through this Red West character.
It's really funny because this is like, it's the same setup as like any Clint Eastwood movie or a lot of old Japanese movies where it's like your lone samurai gunman shows up in a town and has to clean it up. And there's one big bad who's kind of got his fingers in all of the pots. And he's bankrupting the town so he himself can get richer. We all know it's going to come to a head between the two of them. It's just how and when that happens.
Yeah.
And this one is just dipped in like the neon 80s. And it's so silly and hilarious.
It's so good, this movie. One of the great kind of fun sequences of the first act of this movie is Swayze cleaning up the place.
Mm-hmm.
So he's firing people for all these different reasons. He's firing the bartender for stealing money. He's firing one of the waitresses for selling drugs. He's firing one of the bouncers because he doesn't have the right temperament. And he's teaching all the bouncers who he's keeping on to approach all this violence with kindness. And so that's what's really great about Swayze is he's the epitome of cool in this movie. Nothing rattles him. He doesn't want to fight, but he can fight. You know, he's practicing Tai Chi at dawn.
Dude, especially in that scene, because he's in like a tight black short sleeve shirt that's tucked into these stupid black slacks.
Yeah.
That are like up to his nipples.
It's amazing. He's a professional.
He's like wearing these black loafers and he still somehow looks super cool in it.
I'm pretty sure that's how I would have dressed in the 80s, just FYI.
His arms are crossed and folded across his chest the entire movie. It is awesome.
And does he have a mullet? Is that what we're calling his hair?
I think it's like, I think we'd call it a mullet in this day and age. Very blown back with a bunch of product in it.
It's huge. His hair is huge.
He also, in other scenes of this movie, he's wearing like a karate gi.
Yeah.
That's like tucked into a pair of tan slacks.
Or like
it's
blue
so
jeans.
Fucking weird.
Yeah. And yet, He's cool as hell.
Yeah, that's fucking true.
So they're getting the bar shaped up. At the same time, it's clear that Frank, the owner of the bar who has brought him in, who has hired him, has plans to remodel the place. Because when we see it, it's like all sort of old. It looks like an old Western bar, basically. Yeah. It's all made out of wood.
There's like sawdust on the floor.
Yeah. Everything's like unfinished wood. It's all like very rustic looking.
One of my favorite things about the wood tables is that they're like movie tables, right? So like if 3 glasses were on these tables, they would probably fall over. The amount of people who get smashed into them or broken over them, they're like balsa wood tables. They crumble immediately, but it's such a good effect for all the bar fights. And there's like 15 bar fights in this movie.
One of those bar fights early on that Swayze has to kind of interject himself in. The pacifism isn't working. He's stabbed. He's cut, right?
Yes, like across the ribs.
Yeah. So he takes himself to the hospital.
Mm-hmm.
His deal with Frank, which is established at the beginning, which tells you kind of everything you need to know. He's like, I get $5,000 up front. I get $500 a night, and you cover all medical expenses. So it's a regular thing that he's going to have to go get stitched up, basically, in his line of work.
Dude, what a fucking deal, though.
Good deal.
You're going to pay me $500 cash every night. I'm taking $5,000 up front so I can go buy a piece of shit car because I know it's going to get destroyed by the locals because I'm like beating them up.
Yeah, that's an amazing little character trait is you see when he's leaving town from his first gig at another bar at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
He's driving whatever car. He literally throws the keys to a guy sitting on the street and he's like, this car's yours, enjoy. And then he gets in a pristine Mercedes that he's got just in storage that presumably is what he takes from town to town, his regular steed. As soon as he gets to this new town, the Mercedes gets covered up in the barn and he buys a new car that's like, ready to get the shit kicked out of it while he's there. And so he ends up getting stitched up in the hospital in this town by a doctor named Elizabeth Clay, played by Kelly Lynch, who immediately he is into.
I think this is one of the funniest scenes in the movie. So they're talking, they're kind of flirting. She starts to look at the wound and start to stitch him up, and he hands her his medical file. So he rolls around with his own medical file and she glances at it and she's like, okay, you've been shot twice. You've been stabbed 30 times. So she's cleaning the wound. She's about to start stapling him. And she goes, I'm going to give you a local. And he says, no, thanks. And she goes, do you like pain? He goes, pain don't hurt. So she starts to staple him. And she says, in your medical file, I see that you have a degree from NYU, which is like a fine line, I guess. But why the fuck? In his medical records would his college degree be in there?
He's just got his resume in there. That's amazing.
And then she's like, what do you study? And he says philosophy. And she says, any particular study? And he says, man's search for faith or some shit.
Hey man, Dalton's deep.
Dalton is deep. Also, do you think Dalton first or last name?
According to IMDb, his first name is James.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
I don't like that at all.
So that, sparks are flying between him and Kelly Lynch. She comes to see him at the bar. They go out the first time and he's sort of like getting the sense that maybe his life's a little too intense, a little too violent for her, but she's into him too. And we soon discover, Sam, that Kelly Lynch has a history with Ben Gazzara's character.
Yes.
And so as Swayze is sort of discovering the corruption in this town from Brad Wesley, Ben Gazzara's character, he's also getting on Gazzara's bad side for his relationship with this doctor.
Yeah, we find out that Kelly Lynch was approached by Brad to like be his partner, and she said no and left town for a while. But her uncle Red, who owns the auto parts store, brought her up and she felt the need to be closer to him. So she moved back to town where she is now like seemingly the head doctor of the hospital out there.
Pretty soon the Double Deuce is remodeled. It opens up again with a full facelift.
Looks great.
New paint job. The band doesn't have to sit behind a cage anymore.
Oh, they get like a carpeted stage at that point.
They get a new bartender played by motherfucking Keith David.
Okay, so there is a rumor You know, like there's a lot of deleted footage from this movie.
Is it on the disc?
No, it's like lost deleted footage.
Damn.
The first bouncer that Patrick Swayze fires for not having the right temperament is a wrestler. And there's a rumor that there was a fight scene shot between Keith David and that guy that hit the cutting room floor, which is so unfortunate because Keith David's also like the fourth billed person in this movie, and he has like 2 lines.
Yeah, he doesn't have much to do. He's literally just serving drinks.
Yeah, I think a lot of his stuff was cut out, which is unfortunate because I love Keith David.
Absolutely. Another character who you hear mentioned in the first scene, I think, right?
Yeah.
As being
the best cooler.
Yeah, according to Swayze, the best cooler is not himself. It is Wade Garrett, who is played by Sam Elliott.
Yeah.
A very long-haired Sam Elliott.
He looks awesome in this movie.
And they have kind of a brotherly mentor relationship, he and Swayze. There's a scene where basically Ben Gazzara's character is messing with the success of the new version of the Double Deuce by getting all of his alcohol suppliers in town. He's got relationships with all of them. He's convinced them to stop selling or selling on time or selling enough alcohol to the Double Deuce.
Yeah.
Because of his beef with Swayze. There's a scene where Dalton is outside in the middle of the day receiving a shipment from a truck of alcohol, and a bunch of Ben Gazzara's goons show up and they are intimidating the delivery driver to stop selling to Swayze. Swayze gets in a fight with these guys. It's like him versus 5.
At the same time, it cuts back to the front of the bar and we see Sam Elliott roll up on like a chopper motorcycle.
Yep.
And his hair is long and greasy and sweaty, and he's got a black long sleeve shirt buttoned to like his mid chest, and he's walking with a limp, and he walks in and he goes, "You got a little runt working here by the name of Dalton."
And the guy's like, yeah, he's out back. So Sam Elliott goes outside, sees him getting his ass kicked, makes some kind of quip, right?
He says, they call each other hombre the whole time, right?
He calls him Mijo.
Mijo. He goes, "Hey, Mijo, you got this."
And then Sam Elliott joins in the fight. They kick some ass together.
A guy literally gets punched into a dumpster. It's awesome.
And then they go have a beer. They have a lot of beers together in this movie.
And also, if you look, it's super easy to see in the 4K, which looks incredible. The Vinegar Syndrome transfer from like a year and a half ago looks incredible. I'm pretty sure it's the exact same transfer on this Arrow 4K.
I believe so.
Beautiful, like truly beautiful looking. You can see that there are 2 taps in this bar, you know, a different time period. Yeah. And the 2 taps are Miller High Life and Miller Lite.
Incredible.
There's also a scene in which one of the waitresses is bringing 3 glasses of beer over to a table, and one of the glasses is like 1/16 filled, and the rest of it is just all beer head.
It's that kind of place.
Dude, hell yeah.
So now Sam Elliott is in the mix, and very quickly Swayze takes him to meet Kelly Lynch. Mm-hmm. And we learn at this point, when she's like using the bathroom or something at a bar, Swayze has a backstory that we don't yet know too much about. And that he was at one point involved with a married woman that he did not know was married. This is back in Memphis, I think they say. That woman's husband confronts Swayze with a gun. Swayze rips out his throat and kills him.
Yes. We never see it.
Yeah, you don't see it.
It's just talked about.
Exactly. And Swayze is nervous to get himself involved with a woman seriously again because he's seen what side of him is brought out. The throat-ripping side, Sam.
I actually really like this scene between the 2 of them because it's kind of how 2 old friends would talk. Because Sam Elliott's sitting there going like, "I can't believe you're still dragging this shit around with you. You know, you didn't know she was married. You got to cut yourself some slack." And then what's the line? He says, "When somebody pulls a gun in your face, you got 2 options. You can die,
or you can kill the motherfucker."
Kill the motherfucker. Yeah.
I'm going to kill the motherfucker. That's good drama, you know? Right after that scene, she leaves and goes to her shift at the hospital after she's been fucking drinking all day with these guys, which is amazing.
Like all night too. It's like, I think it's like an evening to a day. And then she's like, "I got to get out of here, guys. I got to go catch 2 hours of sleep before I go operate on a kid."
And they've just been like burning cigs and slamming Millers all night and day.
It's so good. So through all of this, Brad keeps dialing up his offenses to the rest of the town. At one point, he blows up Red's auto parts store. At another point, he hires one of his goons who is just driving a monster truck around the entire movie for absolutely no reason.
Monster truck.
Yeah. Like, what are the probably 8-foot tires on that thing?
Yeah, the truck is like 25 feet tall. It's amazing. It's amazing.
He just tells that guy, he's like, drive through this station wagon car store.
Damn, real quick aside here, folks out there. One time, the greatest day of my life, one time Sam flew into town, and in the same afternoon, same day, we saw John Wick 2 for the first time, and then we went to a monster truck rally.
Yeah, got on the train to Anaheim, which you can drink on. Drank the entire train ride there, and then went and saw a monster truck rally at the A's Stadium.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
To be young. So what do they do with this monster truck?
I mean, it is literally like a monster truck rally. He drives it through a glass storefront that is housing station wagons.
Yeah, it's like a new car dealership.
Yeah. And a fucking monster truck just drives through it and crushes, shot impeccably well.
Yeah, it's amazing. They strap the camera underneath the truck, but the wheels are so tall that there's like plenty of clearance. So you're just seeing these huge front tires and everything in front of this truck as it bashes over these cars. It's so good.
Truly, it's like for 40 seconds, it turns into a Godzilla movie. But Godzilla's this monster truck. And then Brad Wesley just like laughs and walks away.
Yeah, and he owns the cops, basically, so nobody's going to stop him. You mentioned earlier that there like aren't any cops around. It's because they are in his pocket, basically.
But it's also so funny because that like makes sense plot-wise, where it's like, all right, yeah, he owns the cops, but it's like, there's not even a cop in that location. There's not even one there just being like, I'm here for safety.
Yeah.
And then his biggest mistake is that he blows up Emmett's house.
At this point, Kelly Lynch is what sets her off? She's starting to get nervous about his violence, his tendencies, because
so during the monster truck rally, Kelly Lynch looks over at Swayze and is like, there's nothing you can do enough, like you need to calm down. And then she goes and talks to Wesley, and Wesley says to her, tell him to leave, because if he doesn't leave town, he's going down.
And she's witnessed him fighting in a bar at this point, right?
Yes.
He's fought like one of the henchmen, like the kind of main henchman of Brad's. And so she's seen that he's got some violence in him.
Yeah.
Swayze.
Also during that fight, Swayze has the line, you're too stupid to have a good time.
So they're in his upstairs barn room arguing about kind of that he's got to go and that he is out of control, basically. And she's got this line. My God, Grind.
Dude,
she's got this line.
It is I know what everybody thinks the best line of this movie is.
Yeah, which is coming.
This line that Kelly Lynch has is the best line of the movie.
Say it. She's screaming at him. We're looking at her in a medium close-up. This barn has these huge windows. And so we're seeing her in front of a big window so we can see outside behind her.
Swayze's also in gray sweatpants and no shirt because he's been like training and working off his anger by like working out. He's furious. And she says, you think you're here to save everyone from Wesley? Well, who's gonna save them from you?
And in the middle of you, a giant fucking fireball explodes outside. Who's gonna save it? And the barn, not the barn, but Emmett's house, which is right outside the barn, explodes.
And the coolest thing about it is that, again, this is in an era where shit was exploding for real, but you can tell because the camera, which is stationary at that point, rocks because of the shock of the explosion.
Yeah. So they run outside.
Actually, I want to highlight something. Swayze jumps out of the big windows that Kurt was just talking about, like runs down a roof, jumps onto hay that's in a truck, and then is running towards Emmett's house. He was such an athletic performer. Like his jumps in this movie are so balletic and dance-like that he must have been like super graceful on his feet.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, and it's a beautiful sequence because he jumps out the window and then he's running like toward a fire. So he's like lit. It's this wide shot that's lit by fire. You don't really see it, I don't think, but it's lit by the fire. Mm-hmm. And behind him, all the horses are running like in sync as he's like sprinting, sweaty toward this, to try to save his friend Emmett. It's great.
Can I hit you with a hot take?
Go.
Do we think if Swayze was still with us, we could have gotten him up there with like maybe one of the greatest on-screen runners?
It's possible. I would have loved to have seen like later age action from him, you know?
Yeah. Damn. Yeah. The way that he moves in this scene in particular is awesome. Then like Kelly Lynch like runs up behind him and I'm like, that woman has never run anywhere in her life.
Have him be like a villain in Mission Impossible or something.
Yeah.
Fighting Tom.
Just running at one another.
They save Emmett from the fire. Emmett looks exactly like Santa Claus when they pull him out of here, because he looks like Santa Claus in general, but he's wearing a red one-piece pajama.
Union suit.
It's so funny. And then from behind the burning house comes this main henchman on a dirt bike. Jimmy, who's clearly set the fire. And Ben Gazzara is across the water watching all this go down. And Jimmy rides his dirt bike. You know, he's like, whatever, giving the finger to Swayze.
Actually, he starts to drive away and then he stops, looks back at the fire, and in the most cartoonish, evil henchman laugh of all time, just starts giggling and like starts to drive away again.
So Swayze sprints after him as he's riding the dirt bike along the river, dives off of like a hill and tackles Jimmy off of the dirt bike. And now they are locked in a rage fist fight. Well, not fist fight, a full body fight.
Extremely physical fight. It's a pretty like equal match, right? Like anytime that you think Swayze is about to come up, Jimmy kind of gets a couple good blows in and vice versa.
Yeah.
And at this point, Swayze's like on his knees and he's like in a headlock and he grabs him by the front of his hair and he pulls his head back. So Jimmy's kind of like spitting into his face, basically. And he says, I used to fuck guys like you in prison.
It's just the best. It's just...
And then your jaw hits the floor completely. And you're like, wait, what did that guy just say?
And they keep fighting.
And Jimmy pulls a gun. He says, you know what? I'm just going to kill you the old-fashioned way. Chekhov's gun speech earlier.
Yep.
You got two choices. You can either die or you can kill the motherfucker.
Swayze kicks the gun out of his hand.
Breaks the guy's leg. Pulls his arm in. So Jimmy is like locked in with his entire face and torso exposed. And we see Swayze's hand come up. It's kind of like the 5-finger.
Yeah, the 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
Yeah.
Mixed with like the claw from Liar Liar. But he cocks back his arm.
Yeah.
Fists, like his fingers are like rigid and mangly. And then he shoots his hand forward and rips out Jimmy's throat.
Jimmy dies basically immediately, and Swayze just like lets his body drop onto the sand.
Falls in the river. Kelly
Lynch has run over at this point as a good doctor and goes to Jimmy in the river, turns him over and realizes his throat is entirely ripped out, kind of like puts his body on the bank and runs away. Swayze at this point is like on the bank and he's like looking at his hands. He's kind of realizing what he's done. And then Kelly Lynch runs away. And instead of having any remorse about it, he walks down the bank, grabs Jimmy's body and starts to drag it into the lake or the river. And he goes, Wesley! Wesley! Fuck you! And throws the body across the river. The entire sequence with Kelly Lynch yelling, who's going to save him from you, into Patrick Swayze screaming Wesley is truly...
is Roadhouse.
Yeah. And like maybe, I don't know, this is probably not true, but maybe the best scene of the 80s.
It's really great. And then,
Yeah,
how does it end?
Wade Garrett, Sam Elliott's character, convinces Patrick Swayze to leave town. He's like, yo, this place is fucked up. We got to just bounce. Like, this isn't no skin off our back. You tried.
Yeah. We
got to get out of here. So Swayze goes to see Kelly Lynch and she's like, you're fucking psychotic. I don't want to be around you anymore. Swayze's like, I got it. I read you loud and clear. So he goes to meet back up with Wade so they can leave town together. And Wade has been stabbed in the chest.
Dead.
On the bar of the Double Deuce.
So we cut to Ben Gazzara's house and all his goons are out front and they see the Mercedes speeding toward the property and they all get in a big line with their shotguns and they're just unloading and like hip thrusting while they're shooting their guns at this speeding car that's coming at them. The car, they're like, it's not stopping. So they're like, get out of the way. And then this car launches over a stone fence, flips through the air and is spinning and explodes from all this gunfire in just an unbelievable stunt.
Unbelievable.
It's my favorite part.
It is the coolest stunt in the movie, without a doubt.
And then Swayze's, of course, not in the car. He has pinned down the gas pedal with the knife that he pulled out of Sam Elliott's chest, which is what I would do if you got stabbed in the chest, Sam.
Hell yeah, dude.
Then each henchman is on the hunt for Swayze throughout this big mansion.
Yeah.
He's taking them down one at a time. One of them gets crushed by a giant polar bear taxidermy. Because Gazzara's house is just nothing but like a trophy room of dead animals, of course. He's like a rich game hunter, basically.
I see you found my trophy room, Dalton. The only thing missing is your ass.
And then there's a final showdown between Swayze and Gazzara in this trophy room surrounded by these taxidermied animals. Swayze gets shot in the arm and then eventually gets the drop on Gazzara. He's like over him, ready to do the throat rip out. And Kelly Lynch, of course, shows up at this time, sees him about to do this. But Swayze doesn't know she's there. And you see Swayze decide to spare him, to not let the violence take over, and he lets him live.
It ain't worth it.
And while he's talking to Kelly Lynch, Gazzara, of course, stands back up with a gun and is about to shoot Swayze in the back when multiple people from the town, Red and the owner of the Double Deuce, Frank, they all show up and blow away Wesley, Ben Gazzara. They shoot him a bunch of times with just unbelievable squibs.
I was just going to say,
giant blood packs exploding.
Some of the best squib work of all time.
Yeah, it's so good.
He gets shot 4 times from 4 different shotguns, and each time he's shot, it's like a fucking volcano erupting under his shirt.
It rocks. And then the police show up.
And they're like, what happened?
What the hell's going on here?
And everybody just goes, I didn't see nothing.
Did you see something? I didn't see nothing.
Yeah. Until we get to the old fat henchman who just goes, a polar bear fell on me.
And there you go.
And that's pretty much Roadhouse, dude. This movie is 2 hours of like the best time of your life.
It's so good. This is a packed 4K, 2 discs, tons of special features. One of which, Sam, I noticed, speaking of Dogma, and I don't think this is new to the Arrow necessarily, but did you know there's an audio commentary on here from Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier?
Holy crap, really?
It's just labeled as audio commentary with Roadhouse fans, Kevin Smith and Scott Mosier.
I did not
Which I'm sure
know
is
that.
amazing.
Yeah, that's great.
There's tons of stuff about the stunts, tons of, BTS, lots of interviews.
I want to point out an interesting thing on the 4K disc. It doesn't have a scene selection.
I'm finding that more and more.
I find it kind of annoying.
You can still chapter change,
you can,
I would
you
imagine.
can skip through chapters for sure.
Yeah.
But it just goes play movie, setup, or special features.
But it's not so easy to jump to the throat rip.
Unfortunately.
One little fun thing that this edition comes with that the other ones don't is a Double Deuce coaster.
Oh, it's so good. It's so
good. Like a bar coaster.
I want to use it in my house, but I will not.
Yeah, you got to just display that.
It's too good. Another fun story that I want to tell about Swayze, which I might have said on this pod before, so if I have, forgive me. But Swayze was tapped to play the Danny Glover role in Predator 2.
Yeah.
But he was a high school football player, and he had a knee injury that after the physical nature of Roadhouse, like reawakened and his knee was messed up. So he decided to pass on Predator 2 because it was another very physical role. And in passing on Predator 2, he gets Ghost, which is arguably a huge push into stardom for him. And not that he didn't have it. He was already very popular, but Ghost, I think, puts him into the stratosphere.
Absolutely.
But I also want Predator 2 with Swayze so badly.
Another thing about this movie that we touched on a little bit, but the music is all from the Jeff Healey band, and it's so good. The music is so good in this.
But I want to point out the couple moments where it is just score. It sounds like Bernard Herrmann and Alfred Hitchcock.
I didn't clock that.
The fight on the beach, the string work in it sounds exactly like the string work in Psycho.
Huh, that's cool.
It was like, I was like, this is weird, man.
It works.
It works really well. Probably the 5th time that I was watching Roadhouse, I was like, God, like the Jeff Healey dude who they cast as this blind musician is just so bad at playing a blind guy. Like he is so bad.
Jesus Christ.
And And I look it up like 5 minutes later. I was like, oh, he's actually blind.
He's fucking awesome in this. Like, he's so chill and cool. A lesson on how to be cool in Roadhouse. Okay, Sam, before we go, it is time to put wishes out into the physical media universe for titles on formats that do not yet exist. Here we go. I wish for a 4K of Manhunter, directed by Michael Mann.
I wish for a boutique label 4K of Dog Day Afternoon, directed by Sidney Lumet.
Dog Day Afternoon is mentioned.
I was just going to say.
Yeah, in an opening monologue from John Travolta's character in Swordfish.
Yep, which is what got me thinking of it. And then the issue with opening your movie with Dog Day Afternoon theories is that I watched the entirety of Swordfish going, why the fuck am I not watching Dog Day Afternoon?
Yeah, for sure. I learned recently that Junior Soprano is Pacino's father in Dog Day Afternoon.
No way. That's so cool. Again, another great thing about The Sopranos is like, it's just like 1,000 New York actors who have popped up in a bunch of your favorite stuff. But yeah, for people who don't know Dog Day Afternoon, this is a Al Pacino performance for the ages. He is robbing a bank to pay for his boyfriend's sex change operation, and things go poorly. And it is maybe one of the best movies ever made.
1975. It's so great. Sidney Lumet, man. One of the ones I didn't mention earlier that I watched this week was Arrow's Night Falls on Manhattan, starring Andy Garcia and directed by Sidney Lumet.
Hell yeah.
Which I really enjoyed. Also features Dominic Chianese, who plays Junior Soprano, and James Gandolfini.
Oh, fun.
Dog Day would be amazing. I bet that will happen, and I bet it will just be a studio release. It's like just a crown jewel, you know, and like Warner Brothers.
I know, but it's like, it'd be so good. Like, give me a Second Sight bigger box. Give me an Arrow big box. Give me a Criterion. Like,
it's possible.
Yeah.
It would look amazing. All that grain.
I mean, Manhunter, dude, like one of my favorites.
Probably wish for this already, to be honest, but Manhunter is available from Scream Factory on an out-of-print Blu-ray, which is great. Yeah, I have too.
You got a slip?
Yes, I have a slip. It's a little beat up, though. This is Michael Mann's entry into the Hannibal Lecter universe. This predates the Silence of the Lambs film.
So the first Hannibal movie, really.
Yeah, and this is the same book as Red Dragon, which we talked about to a great degree on our Uncle Buck podcast. But this is just amazing. This is Brian Cox plays Hannibal Lecter, who is a side character in this, very much so. It's about the detective trying to hunt down, what's the serial killer's name, the character?
Tom Noonan.
Well, yeah, it's Tom Noonan, but he plays the Butterfly Man.
Oh, yeah, I can't remember what they call him in it.
Just an amazing 80s take on this world.
Again, a incredibly neon-soaked, beautiful 80s world.
Tangerine Dream, right? Do they do this score?
No. There are some Tangerine Dream songs in the movie, but it's a collection of a bunch of stuff.
Cool.
I have 2 copies of the soundtrack on vinyl.
Hell yeah. It's only a matter of time.
It is, yeah. I mean, like, this is one of those double dips or upgrades that would do in a heartbeat. Again, you're William Peterson. I think William Peterson is awesome in this movie.
William Peterson plays a waiter in about 4 seconds of Thief.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yep.
At that club where James Caan is like, let's get on with a big romance already.
It's right before that, I think, yeah. Okay, Sam, that is it for another episode of Physical Therapy. A big thank you to Patrick Laban for our music. Thank you to Kimberly for producing this show. She'll be back. We love you, Kim.
Wherever she is.
And now, as promised, ladies and gentlemen, Sam, your shirt's already off. I'll take mine off, and we're going to fight.
Let's see who gets down to the nitty gritty.
Who's going to win?
Give us your votes on Instagram. We'll put up an Instagram poll.
Yeah.
Give us your votes.
We'll see you soon.